Hello everyone, I would love to welcome you all back to Talk Data with Danny. My name remains 𝗘𝗅𝗏𝗍, and you already know the drill. We're going to talk data. So today we will be building a clean, functional sales dashboard using Excel, as you can see. It's a very simple one-pager. There's nothing complicated. And I'll be showing you guys how to pull the data, set up our model, build our visuals, and add smart features to actually help us make decisions in our workplaces. All right, I'll be walking you through dynamic summaries, as you can see here, and also smart year-over-year calculations that you can use in your reports that actually responds to our slices, right? And we'll also come up with a clean layout like this that makes our dashboard easier to read and actually looks really good while being very insightful. So by the end, you will have a full dashboard like this that you can use for your own reports or share with your team. Okay, so grab a book, grab your Excel, and let's talk data. All right, so before we get into the video, I would love to say something very important. I want to say a very huge thank you, for all the supports. We've actually hit 500 subscribers on the channel, and it's really an amazing, it's an amazing accomplishment for me. The first video that I pushed out, and we're already above 500 subscribers within the first week. So I want to say a huge thank you, and also appreciate the efforts and support all of you have put towards this journey. Thank you very much. All right, back into the video. So before we dive deep into this video, the usual, please help support the channel, which I know you all have been doing, by liking the video, commenting your thoughts and whatever you feel you want to add or subtract from the analysis or the whole project in general, and also share. It's going to help the algorithm. Okay, so let's dive in. So we're looking at our data here. It is a sales data set that has a number of columns. Okay, we'll be going through them quickly. We'll have our role ID that represents each transactions. We'll have our order ID. We'll have the order dates and our shipment dates. Let's see if we can convert these to dates. 1 second. All right, there we go. So we've converted them to dates. We'll have our ship mode. So is that our first class, second class, or whatever? We'll have the customer ID that represents each customer, the customer name. We'll have the customer segments, the country they're in, the city, and the states. We'll also have their postal codes, the region, product ID, furniture, subcategory, and the product name. And then finally, our facts. We have the sales. So that's the revenue generated per transaction, quantity sold, the discount percentage, discounted unit price, the profits, and the profit margin. Okay. And also have the lead time, how long it took from when it was ordered, when it was shipped, and also the delivery status. Okay. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'll be taking out this postal code. We'll not be needing it for this analysis. I'm going to quickly delete that real quick, and then I'll push our table into our data into a table. I'll push our data into a table. Make sure my table house headers is connected, it's on there. So we'll have our data right here. Okay, let me zoom in a bit. And this will give us the ability to quickly glance through our data set to see if there's anything that needs cleaning. Okay, so let's do that right now. So for the role ID, it's unique. I've actually checked this before. It's quite clean, but it's good to quickly go through them to be sure everything is in order, because we are all aware that data cleaning is an integral part of data analysis. So your analysis needs to be clean for it to give us a very comprehensive and good analysis. Okay, this is saying 2025. Let's quickly check. Let's filter out and see what that 2025 is. Let's see. Okay, so there are some orders that were ordered in December that were delivered in January. Okay, just a few. Cool. Just a few. And then we'll have our ship mode here. First class, same day, second class, and standard. We'll have our customer ID, which works. We'll have the customer name, the customer segment. We'll have the customer segment, the country, the city, the state. Everything is in order. Okay, everything is in order. By the way, all of the resources you'll be needing for this is in the description. All right, the links to the data sets, the link to the data sets, the resources I'll be using, like your images or whatever I'll be using, everything will be there in a GitHub repo. Sorry about that. All right, so the next thing I'll be doing here, everything is fine, but on your end, I would suggest you go an in-depth into it. But on my end, I've already done all of this before. So I'll just push this into our pivot table, right? Into our pivot table. Okay. Make sure it's in the new sheet and make sure you add this data to your model. And then you click on OK. Now right here we'll have our pivot table. I'll be explaining to you guys, okay, what is the aim of this analysis, right? So basically, let's assume we're presented a scenario where we're working for a sales or an e-commerce websites company, or we're working for a superstore. Let's use superstore for that. And the superstore is planning on expanding, right? They want to rebrand, they want to open a subsidiary of the business, okay? And then you're being called in by the sales team to give them like an overview, like a summary of the sales in the company, the patterns over time, right? What kind of customers purchase the most? You understand? Which region and which states do have the strongholds, and what category of product sales? They just want to get an overview of how it has been going on in the company, so that they can either further dive deeper into more analysis to come up with strategic decisions to improve the business. Are we together? So they want this summary, and they asked you to come up with a simple dashboard, and we give them an overview at a glance. So this is what we'll be doing right now. So first things first, we need to identify our KPIs. We need to identify our KPIs. All right, so before we even go into that, I'll be writing all of the DAX measures we will be needing, okay? I'll be writing all of the DAX measures we'll be needing for this at a stretch. All of these measures will be in a sheet. I'll compile them into a document for you guys so you can copy and paste, okay? If you have any issues, then you can tweak based on the names of the columns or table you're working from, okay? So let's start simple. So the first thing I want to do here, is to pick up the main KPIs. Will be number one, we need to find out the revenue generated, the total quantity sold, the total orders, the average discount, and for good measure, we can add profits, okay? We can add profits. How do we do that? You can do that by just simply dragging your sales and putting it here, and it will auto calculate it for us, okay? But I will be doing something a little bit different. I like using measures, right? I like using measures for mine because it just makes it better and easier for me to use. Okay, so I'll come here, I'll right click, and I'll add a new measure. We'll call this total revenue. And what is the total revenue? It's very simple. We will be summing Let me zoom in a bit so that you guys can see. So we'll be summing. What are we summing? We want to sum up our table 2 sales. Okay, we want to sum up our table 2 sales. Check if it's complete, and then we hit OK. If I drag this in here, this is our revenue generated. Okay, that's our revenue generated. So let's quickly get our profit. Let's quickly get our profit. Same thing. Our profits will be equal to sum of profits. Sum of profits. Okay. Let me zoom in again. You can check. Always make sure your work's perfectly fine. And then we might run into a problem. So we'll just call this profits generated. Just to be sure. Okay. We hit that. And then we're going to move on to the next. We need to get our total orders, right? So what are the total orders? Do we have an order ID? If we have an order ID, all we need to do is to go there, and then we use total orders. That will be equal to, this time around, we'll be using the distance count function. So that will be equal to distance counts. What our distance counting, we want to count our order ID. Where are you? Order ID. All right, our order ID. Okay, and we'll have it there. Cool. The next one is our average discounts. Again, we'll add a new. We'll call this average discounts, and then this will be equal to the average function of discounts percentage of the actual discounts. We'll close this. Let me zoom in so that everyone can see. Cool. Fantastic. So what do? I'll pull all of this in. These are our KPIs. Let's also add one more. Let's get our total quantity sold. So what's the quantity of products sold? Total quantity. What are we doing here? We'll be summing up. Our quantity column. Okay. We'll be summing up our quantity column. So let's check that real quick. All right, cool. Let's drag that in as well. Now we'll be formatting all of this. So I'm going to write a couple of more measures. I want to write out all the measures we need at once before we start analyzing our data. So the next measure I'm going to write here, is a measure that requires us to create a date table, because it's going to be a time intelligence analysis to get our year-on-year analysis. So how do we do that? How do we get that? It's very simple. I wouldn't recommend this. If you could, I don't recommend any implicit operation. I always prefer explicit operation. But for the sake of, this is catered towards the beginners, we'll do something like this. I will go to my data. I will go to data model, and I'll manage the model. Okay, and then our power pivot will pop up. Our power pivot will pop up. Do you know what I'm going to do? I will go to design. I'll go to advanced, sorry. Where is it? Okay, let's move. First of all, let's go to the diagram view. This is our table here, right here. Let me see if I can rename this to table 1, because I'll be copying some codes, and I want this to work. So I'll come right here, and where is that feature? Right there. So if you come to if we come to design, you'll see a dates table, right? You see a dates table. What do? It creates new one. What happens? Automatically, Power Query will generate a dates table for you. If we change this back to the data view, you can see the dates table we created, right? You can see the dates table we created, and this is pivotal for the analysis we want to do. Okay, this is pivotal for the analysis we want to do. All right, so let's get back to our dates table. I can come here and I can update range. There's a reason why. Let's change this to 31st of 2014. Right, remember I'm only working on the sales aspect of things. And if you look at our data, you will find out that it has given us our dates, a continuous date range from 2011 down to 2014. You can see right there. Okay, so what happens? I will save this, and then I'm going to close. If we come here, you will see our new table that has been created for us. Okay, fantastic. All right, so the next thing I'll be doing right now is I will be creating some more measures. It's going to be our year-on-year calculations. Okay, it's going to be our year-on-year calculations. So I will just copy the code and I'll paste it for you guys. I'll copy the code and I will paste it. Add new measure. Normally I would have created a blank table for this, but as we get along, as the projects become progressively more advanced, I will expose you guys to neat tricks that will actually make you better professionals. I'm going to paste this right here. I'm going to paste this right here. I know it's long, but I will see if I can just quickly explain one. It's the same for all of them. Quickly explain one. So then we'll move on to the next. So let's call this revenue. Let's call this revenue year-on-year KPI. All right, so let's look at that code we just generated real quick. I've written it. Let me check if everything works. Everything works. Fantastic. So basically, we're using, what are we doing here is very simple. We're creating different variables we want to use to assign certain values. Okay, what we're doing, variable number one, which is our current revenue, is just the total revenue measure that we wrote down there. Okay, then what is the current year is just returning the max, which is the latest date, right, from our calendar, but we want to return the year. There's a year column there. Remember, the calendar was the dates table we generated. The minimum year, we can see, is the same thing, but the minimum is going to return the earliest year. Okay, now we have our multi-year, right? Because the whole purpose of this measure is to make sure that when the minimum year is being selected, so the earliest year, we want to return an output. When no year is being selected, we also want to return an output. And then when each individual year is selected, we also want to return an output. So all of these things are important. So we want to make sure that the current year and the minimum year currently will be your slicer selected are not the same, right? They are not the same. So we have to make sure they're not the same. This is not equal to, okay? And then our previous year is just basically the current year minus 1, which will give us the previous year. Then we want to calculate our previous year revenue. How do we do that? We pass in our total revenue in the calculate function. All of this I'll be teaching you guys over the coming months. What's actually what they do. This is in the class for in-depth, analysis. It's not analysis, rather in-depth, on all of these topics. But with time, as I build out the curriculum, by the way, you should subscribe if you're new. You will get to know how all of this works in depth. I passed in our total revenue, passed in our calendar is on the all, and then we passed in that calendar should be equal to the previous year. And then we calculated the percentage difference, and then we returned something using that nested if. Okay, nested if. So if the value is multi-year, we want to return select year. If it is blank, right, we'll say no year selected. If the change is greater than 0, we want to return this. If the change is less than 0, we want to return this. So this is just the code, right? I'm slowing down so that you guys can see. Let me expand it further. But all of the codes will be available in the description, so you have nothing to worry about. All right? So I'm going to commit this. Let's do the same for all of them. They're the same thing. The only thing that changes The only thing that changes is just the field we're passing. So this will be, let's call this quantity. All right, let's call this quantity. YOY KPI. Okay. I'll paste this here. If you look at it, you realize that there are only two changes. What are the two changes? Instead of passing in total revenue, I'm passing in total quantity. That's the only difference. Let's check if it's working. Okay, 2 = sign. Let me take one out. Let's see. And we're good to go. I'm going to quickly copy out the rest. They are the same thing. And then we'll continue. All the measures will be available in the GitHub repository in the link below. So this will be total orders or orders YOY. Basically, it's just a comparison between the previous year. That's all. Let's see. Works. Let me add the fourth one. So this fourth one should be discounts. YOY. KPI. All right, KPI. And then we'll paste this right here. We'll paste this right here. Let's check. Good. Then I'm going to add one more, slightly different. We want to get our revenue from the previous year. Okay, because we'll be using it. I'll be adding an extra feature to our dashboard. This one is slightly different. So this is total revenue. Previous year. Okay. Total revenue previous year. So this one is a shorter version. So basically what we're doing here, we're creating a variable called selected year. What does it do? It checks if our slicer selected a year, right? If we select a year, what do we want to do? We want to perform this calculation similar to what we did before, but in a much shorter way. Again, just build it. You can push this on ChatGPT to explain this further for you, but I will explain them later in other videos. Okay. All right. So we'll have this, and finally, this one is a little bit lengthy, but we'll need it as well. So that's going to be our location summary. Going to be our location summary. I'll paste this right there. It's just a lot of variables and concatenation. Okay, a lot of variables and concatenation. This is what it looks like. I know it looks long. I'll provide it for you. It's just a smart narrator. Okay, and it does a lot of things, which I'll tell you when we get to that stage. All right. So you can just come here, you can copy this, and then you can paste it on yours. Just don't mind, just forget that it is looking this convoluted, but it is actually better and easier than it looks. All right. So I'll create this. Cool. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly format these values. Okay. I'm going to quickly format these values. How do I do that? It's very simple. Let me quickly grab the formatting code and I'll tell you guys how it works. So basically what we want to do, right? We want to make sure, right? We want to make sure that when it is in million, we want it to be clean. When it is in thousands and all of that. Let me just quickly paste it in there. Let's come to custom. And then I'm going to paste this code here. It can be anywhere. I can just come here and I'll paste it. Right? I'm going to paste this code. I can't zoom in, but the code, I'll also add it to the list of tax measures we'll be using. So basically what this check, it checks and see if the value is greater or equal to 1 million, return it in millions. If it's less than that, return it in thousands. That's what this does. And I will click OK. Can you see? Just like that, we've successfully cleaned up our code. We also need to clean this up as well. Let's mark this too, and let us give this, and finally this is a percentage. So we want to give this 2 decimal places, and this right here is our KPIs. These are our KPIs. Okay, right? These are our KPIs. So the next thing we'll be doing is still on the KPIs. We'll be working on we'll call these our KPI cards elements, right? KPI cards elements. So basically what we're doing, we'll be creating some mini time series. We want to just get the time series. Let me show you what I mean by that. Basically, we want to create this charts here. We want to create these charts that actually shows the time change in these charts over here. You understand? So that's what we want to do right now. This is all part of our KPI design. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Let me make this bold. So the next thing I'll be doing here is I will just quickly reference this, Ctrl+C. I can break this down here. I will take everything out but the revenue. And then from our new table here, which is the calendar, I'm going to pull in the month, and I'll put it right here. I think I'm going to pull in the month, the date hierarchy, more fields. I'll take that out and let's pull in the month. There we go. I'll come here and I'm going to edit pivot table options. We want to turn this off. We want to go to the total. We don't want any grand total for rows and for columns. Let me zoom out a little bit. So we'll have this right here. We'll have this right here. But this is giving us some sort of okay. Let's take that out. And then let's pull it from our table. Let's drag in our order dates. And let's put it here. It's going to slice it for us, by the way. It's going to slice it open. We don't want this. We don't want this. Okay. And then let's quickly check if the slicer is working. So we'll come to this table here, and I will come here and I will right click and add a slicer. Let me check if it is filtering our table very well. Okay, it's not filtering. I forgot something. So let's come back to our data. Let's come back to data model. I forgot to create a relationship. Sorry about that. It happens. So what I need to do here is to drag the dates and to put it in our order dates. Now, order dates column. Where are you? I want the granular order dates. No, I don't want to split that open. There we go. Okay, it's going to create a one-to-many relationship for us. I will need to make sure it is active. I will save that, and then let's come back here. You can see it is now filtering. So my bad. My apologies for that. So let's carry on. It's working perfectly fine. Let me quickly clear, and let's delete this for now. Let's delete this for now. Ctrl+X, just delete. All right. So we'll be adding something else here. We will be adding the previous year revenue I created. I'll drag this and then I'll put it right here. This, of course, is going to be blank. We're going to leave it. We're going to leave it like this. Okay, for now. So what happens? I will just duplicate this. So call this. This will be for revenue. Right. This will be for revenue. I'll duplicate. I'll paste. right? I'll paste, this is going to be for, our revenue. Let's drag, this is going to be for orders. This is going to be for orders. This is going to be for orders. And then I'll duplicate, and we'll swap this out. We'll swap out orders. We'll replace it with the total quantity. So this will be for quantity. And finally, I'll highlight this, Ctrl+C, and then we'll paste this out. And this is going to be for the average discounts. Okay, this is going to be for the average discounts. So these are our KPIs sets. So I'll quickly come here. And I'll do something like this. You hold Control to mark. I want to create like a barricade, like a barrier here. I want to create something like this, and then you can go a step further. We can just light it up. Okay, we can light it up with color, just to create. Let me pull this up. Okay, let's zoom out. So this is what I mean, just to clean up your code a little bit. Okay, so that's what we will be doing right here for our KPIs. We'll come back to that. So let's move on to other aspects of our analysis and dashboard. All right, so we've created most of the elements we'll be needing for our KPIs. What will be left is just our year-on-year calculations and all of that, which I'll show you guys how to do that. Okay, now the next thing we will be doing, let me quickly open up my own copy of it. Let me see. All right, so we're answering some questions, right? We want to do some analysis that will help us, answer those questions. What do we need to do? We need to check looking at our dashboard, we need to check, the time analysis, time series. So how has the monthly trend been over time? So we need to do this. We need to analyze sales by month, by customer segment, product category. Then we'll do our location analysis right here. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Let's quickly do that. So first things first, our analysis right here. Analysis. Okay, monthly trends. Monthly trend. This is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pick these up, any of them, right? Duplicates. And then I'm going to place it right here. Okay, I'm going to place it right here. Now, remember, we're dealing specifically on one facet of our analysis. This data set can be used for you. I can use this data set to perform more than 10 different analysis, right? Where we're focused on sales right now. So what do I do? In our KPI, we don't need this one. We don't need this total revenue PY. I want to take that out. But for here, we need it. Let me show you why. If I were to come here, right? If I were to come here and I say with the year, add as a slicer. If I start 2011, 2012, you can see what's happening here, right? That's the previous year being documented. Okay, that is why we need that there. So let me quickly delete this. We'll come back to that. We'll talk about the slicers later. So this is all we need to do here. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, we'll have our total revenue and we'll have the total revenue previous year on there. Okay, I'll have that on there. And just move this to the side, sorry. So what next? So I have to do the same. I can just pick this up, right? I'll just pick this up, Ctrl+C, and I'll put it down here. The next thing we need to check is the revenue by number one. We need the revenue by product category, by product category, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and by customer segments. Okay, so this is product category, product cat, and this right here is going to be by customer segments. Customer segments. All right, that's cool. It's a very simple dashboard. It's nice. It's a nice, impactful, really nice one. Okay, so we've done that. Very straightforward. Once you have your KPIs written in your DAX measures, it's actually very easy to plot. Actually very easy to plot. So the next thing I'll be doing here is we'll jump into our geographical analysis. Geographical analysis. By the way, you can mark all of this and you can make them bold using your Ctrl+B. So what do we want to do in our geography analysis? We want to find out which states, right? Which states has the most revenue? Which states has the most revenue? What do? I just have to take out this category and pull in states. Because if I pull in the country, you see that they're all in the same country, the United States. Okay, so in the United States, which state in the United States has the most revenue? So I'll pull in the states and I'll put it right here. Fantastic. We'll just sort by largest to smallest. And we're going to reference this out for a particular reason. Because pivot charts don't take in, you can't pull in maps directly from a pivot table. So we'll just do this right here. We'll just filter it out just to the side. All I need to do is to come here. I'll come here, format painter, and then I'll just do this. And the formatting will automatically take effect. All right, so this is number one here. This is by states. The next thing we need to do here, is to pick up our, I'll just pick this up to want to see by region, but also in each region, what is the customer segment composition? That's what we'll do here. I'll take out the states, I'll drag in the region, and I'll drag in our customer segments so that we'll know the kind of customers in each side of the United States so that we can plan accordingly. I'll drag the region and I'll put it right here. And we're going to have something like this. Okay, fantastic. And then we can sort by, let's use this consumer. Let's use the consumer to sort by the largest to smallest. I think this will give us the best, or in this case, smallest to largest. There's a reason why. All right, cool. Now we have this here. I would have used the total problem through socks. That would have been a better one. But I want it to be clean. All right. What else? Do we need any other charts here? Let me quickly confirm. Any other charts? I think that's it though. I think that is it. All right, cool. Fantastic. That's amazing. Let me see if everything is accurate before we carry on. Before we carry on. That's basically it for our original analysis. Okay, that's basically it for our original analysis. But we still need to do a couple of things. I'll quickly grab this, right? I'll quickly grab this and I'll put it here. There's a reason why I want to put it here, so that it does not, I want to have our time intelligence here, and I don't want it to interfere when the column auto adjusts. So I want to make sure this is expanded properly. Let me mark this and let's see if we can put it right there in the middle. In the middle. Okay. I'll take all of this out, of course, and I will drag in our time intelligence. So what do I need to pull in? I want to put in the revenue year-over-year change. I want to put in the quantity, the order, and the discounts. Okay. These are the 4 KPIs I want to put in here. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll quickly, sorry, that was a mistake. So before anything, just kindly readjust your sheet the way it is. Let's call this data sets. Let's call this analysis. And let's call this dashboard. Let's call this dashboard. Okay, let's call this dashboard. I'll quickly reference out the cell, and then I'll just drag it here. Maybe I can even bring it down here, and I'll make sure just like they are right there in the middle. There's a reason why. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply conditional formatting. We're going to apply conditional formatting to the cells. And let me tell you the kind of conditional formatting I'm talking about. Is for us to make sure that, can you see, these values are adaptive to the color. So when there's an increase from the previous year, what do? We want to show green. If there's a decrease compared to the previous year, we want to show red. And then if there's neutral or no year has been selected, we just want to return black or white or whatever we're using. Okay. So how do we do that? Let me show you the formula there. If I come to home and I go to conditional formatting and I come to manage rule, you will see the rule. You will see the rule that I did here. So I'll just quickly copy out those rules. Again, it's going to be part of the documentation I'll be giving to you guys. Okay. It's going to be part of the documentation I'll be giving to you guys. I hope I've not messed it up. Let me grab the third one. Let me just copy that real quick. And then let's come back here. So all I need to do is to highlight this, come to conditional formatting. I'll click on new rule. Okay, I'm going to click on use a formula to determine the cell format, and then I can paste my code here. So I can paste it like this. So let me paste the first rule here, right? We're going to paste the first rule here, and then I will say format. So what do I want to happen? I want to return the color. Let's set it at automatic, and let's click on OK, right? And let's click on OK. We've created our first row. Let me quickly grab the second one. So what do? I will also come here, highlight everything. I will come to conditional formatting. I will also add a new row, same thing. And I'm going to paste this value here. Again. I'm going to paste that value there again. This time around, what's going to be the format is a deficit. So what happens? We'll be using, let's use red, right? Let's use red. Okay, click OK. And then let's pick up our third row as well. Let's pick up our third row. We'll highlight the same thing. And then new row. I'll paste it here. You can see the forward arrow is searching for arrow. That help, you guys know how this is normal and the search function works. If you don't, again, just subscribe to the channel, turn on post notification, and you guys will get alerted when I actually treat that. Okay. So let's quickly check if this formatting is working. I'll quickly create a EA slicer, and let's select 2014. Fantastic. Let's select 2013. Okay, 2012, 2011. Let's see. Okay. All right. So there are some mishaps going on. All right. So first of all, I'll come here and I'll format Painter, and I'm going to drop it here. So let's see. Interesting. So let's quickly edit that real quick. Let's go to edit or manage rules. We'll have our 3 rules here. I can come here and I can say this is equal to this. I'll take this out. This is equal to, I can even click here, this is equal to, let's clean that out. Let's just click on this. This is equal to this. Sorry, made a mistake. Let me see something. Okay. Let me edit. Let's bring this to the front. And let me apply. Let me click OK. Let's see again. Okay. So let me see how I can. This is working. This isn't working. The downward version isn't really working. So let me see how I can troubleshoot that. So you guys should give me a moment to fix that up off camera, and then I'll walk you guys through what I did. Okay. All right. So I did. I had to check, off screen to find out what the problem was, and there was actually nothing wrong. With it. I just had to delete the pivot table and reinsert a new one and apply the same rules again. So that's so these are the rules they're going to apply. You can see, but make sure when you're applying them, this value here, this N3, should be the initial pivots your cell address. Okay, let me show you guys. So let me quickly highlight this, and if I go to manage rules, I've created the 3 rules. You can see them there. It's just your first rule. When you do it, just leave it no presets, which is the long one, right? The second one, when you create, you go back there, you create a new rule again, just like from earlier. You add the second one. And you can come here and click new rule. You can add a second one. When you put it in, basically what this function is doing is saying, check if this is a number, right? This is a number. If it's a number, return true. If it's not a number, what do you want to do? We want to search for that symbol. Whenever we see down, the down arrow symbol in that text field, you know that it is a deficit or it is a loss. So what do? You come to format and then you select the color. In this case, we'll be using red, right? You do the same for this. This time we're searching for the upward symbol. We want to use green for growth. And then this one, we're checking for multiple things. That's why we're using the OR function. We want to check for the side arrow. We want to search for no prior. I want to also search for select. If you see any of these things, just return the default, which can be black or white or anything. Okay, and you can see here, now once I alternate between the years, you can see that it is working perfectly fine. I'm going to quickly reference this out. Right, I'm going to quickly reference this out. And then I'll try to see, let's see if we can inherit Ctrl Z, sorry about that. Let's see if we can inherit the properties. I'll just come here and then I will format painter and let's see if it's working well. Fantastic. Fantastic. And then finally, the last KPI we'll be creating, let's just move it to the side. I'm creating this separately because I don't want the size of this thing to change, and you will know why. I'll highlight all of this and we'll make this center. Okay, cool. Here I'll take out all of these things, all of these values, and then I'm going to replace this with the last measure which we wrote, which is our summary, or location summary. I'll copy this and put it here. So you can see it's quite long, to be fair. It's long, but it's going to auto fit. Now, these are all the KPIs, these are all the measures we'll be using. Okay, that's all. Let's come back to, remember your data set, you can rename it data sets. This page, you can rename it to analysis, and here you rename your dashboard. So what do you do to your dashboard page? What you need to do is to go to your view, you turn off your grid lines, and then if you want, you can also turn off your heading as well. And you'll be left with a blank canvas like this. Yes, but let me just turn them on for now. Okay, let me just turn them on for now. So the next thing you would do, right, is to insert a shape. How do you insert? I'm going to show you for one, and I'll just copy the rest. Just come here, and we'll be inserting a I just lost my train of thought for 1 second. We'll be inserting a shape. Okay, we'll just make it to cover the whole thing. If I let's go to view and let's turn off this for now. Okay, we're just going to insert the whole thing. I'm using a much larger screen, so when I share the resources with you guys together with the wireframe, if you don't want to go through the stress of building this from scratch, I'll send you the Excel file I'll be sending to you. Will also house the wireframe. You can just go there and resize for your own pick, for your own size. So we'll have this, and I'll quickly format this, and we don't want any line. So we don't want any line. And for the fill, let me open up this one here. Let me pick up the color real quick. I'll just show you how to do one. I'll just copy the rest, and then you know how to go about that. So for this fill, is going to be this color. I can just pick up the color here. Okay, I'll just pick up the color here, and then I can come here, and I'll use that color as my fill. Boom, there we go. So this is going to serve as a base, right? This is going to serve as a base, and this is going to cut this. I want to make this as short as possible. So I'll just copy all of the elements, which I'll provide for you guys. All of the elements, Control A, Control C, Control A, Control C, Control V. There we go. Right? There we go. You can do the same as well. You can do the same. So basically, these are just layers upon layers upon layers of shapes and text boxes. Okay. I would implore you should play with them. Check the properties. What are all of these? These are just text boxes. These are just text boxes. How do you insert the text box? It's very simple. You go to insert text box. You can pass in your value there. You go to format shape. You turn off the line and your fill. That's all. What's this? This is just a picture. And that's it. This is just a picture with no background that I have somewhere. I downloaded it and took out the background. So I'll also keep this for you guys if you want. And for our menu, what's this? This is just a shape, a transparent shape, right? I'm just assuming nobody here is an absolute beginner, you know. The transparent shape layered upon a text box and an icon, which I'll provide for you guys. So that's what I did. What else? You can see that it's layer upon layers. What is the first layer? This is our first layer. What's the second layer? This is the second layer right here, right? We'll have a second layer right here. Okay, we'll have a second layer right there. You can see it's right there. Control X. What do we have here? We'll have our third layer. These two colors, if they're the same, I think there's a slight difference there. So we'll have layer 1, right? We'll have layer 1, which is a white text box with a little bit of a shadow, right? Let me quickly check that. Let me check that real quick. Do have a shadow on there? So you can see it's solid white. Is there a shadow on? Let me see what's... Okay, there's no shadow. It's just flat, right? It's just flat there. And then it's just shapes layered upon each other. That's the first layer. This is the second layer, right? The second layer. This is the third layer. Again, this is a shape. Can you see? This is a shape. Let me undo that and undo. And then you just start stacking them up. This is yet another layer, right? This is yet another layer. There's another layer here as well, because this went above that. And then box, 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 or rather shapes. Then you can see here that I used a theme. Let me show you guys the what gave me an inspiration and inspo. So I don't know if you guys know Bass, how to Power BI. He's one of the best Power BI designers on YouTube. So this was what he built, right? Using Power BI. So I saw it and I liked it. It's okay to always draw inspiration. You can see that it's very similar, if not the same. I liked it and I decided this is me being open with you guys, and I decided to recreate it for Excel. Okay, so this is the wireframe. You guys will have this. You'll see a dashboard. You'll see your data set and your dashboard on the file I'll be uploading on the GitHub repo, link in bio. You have this setup. All right, all of these things are just text boxes. Okay, all of this are just text boxes. All right, so this is it. So the next thing I'm going to do, we need to start importing our charts. Okay, we need to start importing our charts. So that should be fairly simple. I want to make this as short as possible, like I mentioned. All right. First of all, we're going to duplicate this. I want to reference those texts, our texts. Okay, we're going to reference our text CV. Right, just Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. We'll have this here. I'm going to clean this out. I want it to be empty. Right? I want this to be empty. And then we will actually come to view, because I need back my formula bar. I'll come here and I'll come to the formula bar with equal to sign. I'll go to the analysis and then I'm going to reference this. Boom, I'll have it right there. I'll duplicate. I'll put here. I'll come here again. I'll reference the next one. We'll be referencing not profit. We'll be referencing total orders. Or I think mine I use quantity next. Right, Ctrl+CV. I'll duplicate this again. I'll come right here and then I'm going to reference the total orders and then Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. I'll have this right here. In fact, before I even do this, right? Before I do this, I'm just going to quickly duplicate. I'm going to duplicate this. And we'll go to move or copy, create a copy. Now, do you know what I'm going to do here? So these are our duplicates here. I'll take these out, right? I'll take these out. I will come to the view and I'll take out the formula bar as well. And I want it to be clean like this. Do you know what I'm going to do? These are the elements that are static. They won't be changing. So because they won't be changing, what will I do in this case? I will actually, remember the formatting, by the way. You can see on the darker background, I used white, and on the lighter background, I use dark. You can check them. You have the scope. Check them. You see the exact colors I used. You can use them exactly that way too. So for us to get this wireframe in a pictured format, I will first of all insert another shape. This shape I will be using as a measure, right? I'll be using as a measure. I'll just stack it up here and I'll pull it near the end. Okay, near the end. I'll pull it down again. I want to make sure it is covering everything perfectly. Let's see. Perfect. So that's that right there is the size, is the dimension I will be using. Okay, that right there is going to be the dimension I'll be using. So what do I do? I'll cut this out, and then I'm going to use my screen sniping tool here. You can just go to your computer and you can search sniping, right? Sniping tool. You select this. You'll be greeted with this, and then you click on new, and then I'm going to take a screenshot of the entire thing. I'm going to take a screenshot of the entire thing down to the end. Boom. All right. So you can see that I've taken my screenshots right here. You know what I'm going to do next? I don't need this anymore. I can just keep it here till I'm done. I will come here. I'll come to my actual dashboard. And then I'm going to select everything. I'm going to select everything except the dynamic text values that I know will be affecting our slicers. That's what I'm going to do. Why are you not? Okay. All right. Then I'll just hit Ctrl+X to delete everything. I will be left with this. We'll be left with this. I'll insert that image I took a screenshot of. You go to insert pictures, placeholder cells, and then I'll pick that image. Mine is saved in the pictures. Okay, why are you not loading? I believe that's it right there. Okay, this is it. And I'll hit insert. I'll drag it, and then I'm going to put my dimensions, which is 14.3, 14.3. Automatically it should resize, but let's see if we got it perfectly. On the bottom is 26.5. This is 26, 26, 26.5. Okay, and this is, surely there should be a way to log this down. This is 14.3. It's still scaling up. Okay. Still doesn't matter. We can still work with it like this, right? So this right here is our wireframe, right? It's looking nice. I will go to the picture and I will say send to back. And just like that, you can see it's shifted a bit. That's why it's good to do this before you start building on top. And then you can just adjust. You can just adjust this accordingly. This is weird. Why did it make so much of a difference? Maybe I was the one that didn't do it well, but okay, I think I know. So let's just adjust it a little bit. It's a little bit too, it's too zoomed in. Let's zoom out a bit until we get to the exact edge. Right there. We'll just keep on. Let's see. Perfect. We'll just keep it like this. And so this is much better. This is what I was looking for. Cool. And then I will pick all of this and I'll just arrange them. We'll arrange them accordingly. I'll pick this one. This one is slightly higher, so I'll pick this. And I'll make sure it is in line with this right here. And these other ones, I'll bring them here. I'll just bring one of them here. Make sure it aligns properly. Mark all three. And then go to shape format. You align to top. And you're good to go. But this needs some formatting. Okay. So for this, I believe, let me quickly get that formatting. I used 𝗘𝗅𝗏𝗟 bold. I'll just format it from my other design and I'll drop it right here. So I'm going to expand this. Okay, this is what it looks like. You can see there, what's the formatting? 𝗘𝗅𝗏𝗟24 bold B. Right? That's what it looks like. And then for these other three, I believe I'm just format it and then I will just drop it right here. Let me zoom out a bit. Just adjust this. I believe it's, let's see. Still 𝗘𝗅𝗏𝗟24. The only difference is the color used. So I can just format my painter, drop it here, format my painter. I will drop it here. I will expand. I'll expand. Okay. We can just pull this down. Mark all three, and then align to the top. Okay. And then align to the top. Make sure everything is nice and clean. For this average discount, I'll quickly turn on my formula bar, and I'm going to, I think I referenced the wrong cell. I will reference this right here. That's it. And I'll paste it right here. There we go. Fantastic. So this is it. This is it right here for the sales. And then what else? We'll start building out our charts. Okay. We'll start building out our charts. So how do we do that? It's very simple. Remember, this is part of our elements. I will pick one of this. I'll pick one of this and I'm going to insert it into, I'm going to insert into a chart, right? A chart. We'll be using column charts for this, right? We're using column chart for this. I'm going to show you guys how to format it. One is applicable to all of them, okay? First things first, you take this out. We don't need this. You take out the unnecessary grids. We don't need this. You right click. You right click and then you right click and then we'll take this out as well. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We just want to clean up the whole thing and we'll hide and we'll take this out. We format the chart area, no line, no fill. Okay, no line, no fill. Let me get the exact dimensions I used, by the way. Let me be sure. Let me get the exact dimension I used so that we can use that in ours from the one I used. So it's 1.54, 3.45. 1.54, 3.15. 1.54 for the heights. For the width is 3.15, I think. 3.15, isn't it? 3.45. Yeah. I'm going to cut this, Ctrl X, and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so we'll have our first value here. But it's a little bit too thin, so we'll have to do some changes. We'll have to apply some changes to this. First things first, we want to change this to white. And I want to use a solid line for the border. I want to change that border to black. Okay, so it gives this nice outline. And then I want to increase the gap width. I want to increase the gap width to let me get the numbers. I want to increase the gap width to, let me get a number real quick. I want it to be perfectly identical to what's, so I use 99%, all right? So you just need to click on the columns, come to this value here and change this to 99. Fantastic, that looks really good. And then I'll expand, and just like that, we have our first KPI right there. Now the beauty about this is that I have to do this 4 times, right? All I need to do is to come here, right click, and I'll say save as templates. Let's just call this tutorial column 1, right? Column 1, and I'll click OK. I'll come back here and I'll do the same thing for this, right? I will do the same thing for this. So for quantity, we're going to insert recommended charts. This time around, it's going to be, I'll come to templates and I'll pick up, you can see tutorial column 1, and I'll hit enter. I'll have something like this. But this time around, I'll change this to the color that we've been using. I think is the darker shade. So let me quickly grab it, that color. Let me quickly grab the color code. Okay, let me quickly grab the color code. And then we'll change this. This dark outline just gives it a nice feel. So I'll be using this. Ctrl A, Ctrl V, and I'll hit enter. Perfect. So I can right click and I can save. I can save as templates. Let's just call this TT2, right? TT2. So this one here, if I'm not mistaken, is for quantity. Okay, it's for quantity. So quantity is number 1. I'll grab orders, I will insert, recommended charts, templates. I'll look for TT2. Got it right there. This is for orders. And then I'll do the same thing for discounts as well. Let me move them to the side so that I can highlight. I'll do the same thing for discounts as well. We're going to insert recommended charts, templates, TT2. And then I'll mark all 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Control X. And I'll paste it right here. I'll paste it right here. We use the dimensions. What are the dimensions here? Let me get those dimensions real quick. Just like I did before. 1.67, 3.37, okay? I'll go to shape formats. 1.67 for the height. And then 3.37, I think, for the width. I'm not quite sure. All right, cool. And then what else? This goes here. This goes here. This comes here. Make sure everything is aligned properly. And this comes here. If this is the base you want to use for all of them, you can just do that. And then you mark all 3. And then this time around, we're going to align into the bottom. It's going to look like this. They're not bad. Let's move it a little bit. Okay, that'll be perfect. All right. And just like that, we've created 80% of our KPIs. Created 80% of our KPIs. All right, so we're done with the KPIs. Fantastic. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called a linked image to transfer our KPIs, the time intelligence part of it. Excel isn't as flexible as Power BI, so you have to do 1 or 2 things, you understand, to mitigate those restrictions. And that is to use something called the camera option here. It's on mine. If it's not on yours, you just go to File, you go to Options, you go to Quick Access Toolbar. You're going to see camera. If it's not on here, you will see it there. Activate it, add it to it, and then import it, and you will see it at the top right there. That's what you need to do. If you're still having issues, you can just ask ChatGPT, or you can Google what you need on how to go about it. So what am I going to do? I will come here, right? I'll highlight the cell. I'll click on camera. I'll come to my dashboard, and I will paste it right here. Okay, I'll paste it right here. I'll format the picture. I do not want any line. I do not want any field, right? But you're going to see this line around it. That's because it is taking a snapshot of that cell. That's why I separated it. So do I'll come here, and I'm going to select the cell, and I'll fill it with this color. If we come back here, you will see that it has blended in perfectly. So we're going to do the same for all of them. So for the quantity, I will highlight it. I will take this. I'll come here. I'll paste. I'll come back here. I'll select this for orders. I'll take this. I'll come back here and also paste as well. And I'll do the same for this. So this is just a linked image. Whatever happens here will actually reflect. will actually reflect on here. Okay. You can adjust this nicely. Can adjust this nicely. Make sure it is nice and arranged. Make sure it is nice and arranged. We don't want mark all of this. We don't want no fill. We don't want no line. Or you can put a solid fill white if you want, just to give it a little bit of pop. So what else? I'm going to mark all 4. I'm going to bring all of them. And just let me mark this. We don't want any fill actually. Same with this. I'm going to bring everything downwards. I'm going to bring everything downwards, and then I'll mark this 3, right? And I'm going to align to the top. Perfect. I'll come here and then I can just manually align because they're not on the same length. Okay? So we'll have this right here. If I go a step further, you can tweak. So I can come here, I can make this bold if I want. And if we come back here, you will see that it has reflected. So this is better. Let's move this closer. Make sure it aligns with this, right? That's your benchmark. Make sure it aligns with this. We'll come back to that. So let's go ahead and let's start building our charts. What next? Our analysis. What's the first thing we need to push in there? Our monthly trend. We're going to pick this up. I'm going to insert this into, we'll be using a line chart. Okay? We'll cut. We'll drop here. We'll cut and we'll drop here. Okay? We'll cut and we'll drop here. So quick cleanup, just like we did before. We don't want this. We don't want this. We don't want this. I'll drag this and I'll put it. We don't want this as well. So if these are not going out like I'm experiencing right now, all you need to do is to come to Pivot Chart Analyze, go to Filter and Button and hide all of them. And there we go. We'll select this here. We format the axis and we do not want any fill. We don't want any line. For the text, we want to make it bold. I want to increase it a little bit. All right. I'll come here and I'll drag we'll drag these labels. I'll keep it there for now. I'm going to extend this to the ending. Perfect. And then I'll select this line. I'll smoothen it. I can increase it a little bit to 2.5. And this will pick our primary color for the line, which is going to be this. Okay? Which is going to be this. I can come to the marker. I can use a solid marker. Marker options, I'll pick built in, and I'll pick the circular one, which is this, if I'm not mistaken. My eyes are a little bit messy. Okay, this one here. Solid fill, and we use maybe a lighter shade, and we can increase this maybe to 8. You understand? Now, the beauty about this is that we've not selected any year, right? So let me quickly use that year slicer. Let me quickly use the year slicer to get the other this thing I'm trying to format. You won't see it, right? Or let's leave it like that. Let's leave it like that. When we've set everything, we'll quickly format that one as well. So I would come here and then remember we also don't need any fill and any border from this chart as well. All right, click. I'll come here and I'm going to add a chart title. I can say we can call this monthly trend. monthly trend. And I'll bring it to this side. We can make this bold, and we can reduce this a little bit. Make sure it matches the color we've been using. Okay, make sure it matches the color we've been using. You can see the way I built my chart. You can see that there's a little bit of a padding around it. Please do that. Make sure your chart does not hug, the tile that you're building it on, else it's just going to look tacky. We'll have something like this. Okay, we are done with this one. So let's quickly pull in our next chart. What's the next chart going to be? I think it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, by this. I'm going to insert this into, we'll be using a bar chart. We're using a bar chart here. We're using a bar chart here. I will sort from smallest to largest. And then just like we did before, I'll take this out. I'll take this out, this out, this out. I'll select this, no line, no fill. I'll select the outer one. We don't need any line. We also don't need any fill as well. And then for this, we don't need any line. Okay, we need a line. What's the line color? The line color is going to be black. And then for the color, we'll have this. It's going to look something like this. Okay, let me get the exact dimensions as well from the one I built earlier, because that's our reference dashboard. Let me see. Let me look at the 261. All right, so for the gap width, I used 261 there. 261 there. I'm going to cut, and I'm going to paste here. I'm going to paste here. And I think I made a mistake. Wrong cells. Wrong cell. This is supposed to be by customer segments. Let's see if we can change. Let's see if we can select data. Is it possible to change? Is it possible to change? Can I change? No. Okay, let me just save this. Let me just save as templates. Let's call this A. Let's cut this out. Okay. We're going to insert this rather. Recommended charts, templates. I'll pick this up. Okay, I'll pick this up, and we'll just sort this from smallest to largest. Fantastic. We'll cut, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to paste here. I'm going to paste here. And then I will drag, and I'm going to adjust accordingly. We can always fix them out. Let's just turn on the data labels here as well. So make them bold for once, for now. And then for our charts here, we'll be inserting this into a donut chart. We'll be inserting this into a donut chart, but the donut chart actually has a twist. Okay, the donut chart has a twist. Okay, first and foremost, we don't need this. We're going to hide all fields. We don't even need the title. We don't need fill. We don't need a line. The next thing I'll be doing here right now is to first select, and then we don't want any line. Okay, then I'll pick the first one, which is technology. I'll pick this. I'll double click to make sure I'm selecting this one. I'll be using our dark color right there. Using our dark color right there for our office supplies, which is this. Let me quickly grab the color I used for this. I'm gonna grab the color I used for this. Office supplies. For our furniture, all right, double click. We're going to use one for the furniture. And then for the office supplies, we'll be using that color right there. We're using this color right here. The next thing I will do here is I'll come on here and I will change this to solid line. And then I can increase this line I'll make sure it is matching the same color. So I can increase this line to, I use 15.75. 15.75 here. For this, I think I used 12. Same line, you turn on the line, you change this to match, or you change this to 12. And then for this one, what did I use on there? 5.5. Used solid line, 5.5. Okay, and just like that, we'll have our pie chart right here. Ctrl X, Ctrl V to paste. And then I'll just adjust it to make sure it fits. Perfectly. Okay, and that's how we'll have our charts here. I'm gonna have to shrink this back a little bit to give this little bit of a breather. Cool. So for this, we'll have to turn on the labels. Okay, we'll have to turn on the labels, and you can drag them out. For God's sake. You can drag them out individually. Okay, you can drag them out individually. And you can make them bold if you want them to stand out. Always adjust the colors, by the way. There we go. So we've done this. Now, for the main charts here, for the geography, the reason why I said we should reference this a lot, because if I come here, I highlight, and I want to insert this into a map. It's not going to work. But to tell you to reference it outside, so that was why we referenced this outside right here. Okay, so I'll mark this. I will insert. We'll be inserting this into, that's already suggested it was, into a map chart for us. How do we do this real quick? We don't need this. We take this out. We don't need this. We take this out. We select our chart itself. Let's come here. We don't need lines. We don't need background. Okay, let's change this to solid, then we click on the inside actual charts. I want to use solid lines. What lines do we want to use? I will use like a dark color to give us the highlights of the, you understand, the division. Okay, and then I will come right here. So our series color, I can change this thing to 3 from sequential colors. We can use this to diverging, and then our highest value will be the thickest one. The middle ones will be this, right? And then the least one will just use 10% darker whites. Or if that's a little bit off, we can use pure whites. And just like that, we'll have our map. Very easy. I'll cut that and I will paste here. I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, it's nice and clean right here. I'm going to come here and I'll just highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the top 5. So no matter the sorting that happens here, this will always be the top 5. If you don't want to create another pivot table for that, you just highlight them, you insert recommended charts, and we'll still pick the templates we built earlier. And just like that, we'll have these values here. I will cut and I'm going to paste. I'm going to paste right here. We can shrink them. Let's make sure everything works. If this is too big, you can adjust it a little bit. Just make sure everything comes out nice. They can overlap, by the way. They can overlap. You can come here and can adjust this a little bit. Make sure everything comes out nice, and then you can adjust this a little bit. Fantastic. This might be too long, so you can shrink this. Just close this. Just eyeball it. Make sure it comes out really nice. We can go ahead and we can extend this a little bit. Just beside it. Okay, these are our top 5. If you want, you can go ahead and add the data labels. You can go ahead and add the data labels if you want. Make them bold. All right, fantastic. So we'll have this here. So the final chart we want to create is going to be the customer segment distribution across these regions. So here I'll be inserting it into still a bar chart, but we'll be using a stacked bar chart. Okay, using a stacked bar chart. Just like we did before, you right click and you hide all of them. We don't need this. You take these out. Gone. We don't need this. Gone. We don't need this. No line, no fill. You highlight. No line, no fill. And then we can take this to the top. We expand. And we can break this down. Okay. Let's see. Let me try to expand this. Just make sure you adjust it accordingly to make sure everything fits. So in a situation like this, what else? For this, make sure there's a line, solid line, black. What's the color I'll be using this? For this solid line, you use this. For this solid line, we'll be using this. Okay, that's it. I'll cut and then I'll paste here. We'll drag and we'll adjust accordingly to make sure everything fits. To make sure everything fits. To make sure everything fits. It takes a little of wiggle room. So we just drag this. Nice. You can see it came out nice. I can go ahead and I can add the chart title. We're going to call this segment distribution. By region. by region. Mark everything, make sure it is aligned to the left hand side. Okay, make sure it is aligned to the left hand side. And then for the segment, we can make it bold, bring it down. And then this will unbold and make it even smaller, because that is a smaller or a secondary title. And just like that, we'll have this. Again, you can see the colors, make sure they match. You can fix that at the end, because of time. All right, so the final chart we'll be adding here is going to be our summary. It's very simple. All we need to do is to duplicate any of this. So duplicate any of this, Ctrl+CV, bring it right here, and then I'll just reference that pivot table that we created here. I'll just reference it, and boom. Okay, Ctrl+Z, Ctrl+Z, Ctrl+Z. Please tell me. Oh my God, I've broken this charts. Let me delete that real quick, and let me re-import. I think I selected the wrong. Let me re-import. Okay, let me get the dimensions again. Let me try to get the dimension again. So that's 14. 14.3. Okay, 14.3. So auto adjust. I'll just move this. I'll just shrink the height till it matches. And then I will send to back of it. All right. I'm going to duplicate. Go to duplicate. And then I'll come to the analysis. I'll click on this and I'll hit enter. There we go. So I can just adjust this properly. Right? Adjust it properly. All right. And then we'll change this to whites. Okay, I'm using a darker version, so I can change this to, let me see. Let me just, change that to white. So you have your summary of this right here. And this is actually dynamic, by the way. All right, so that's all good and fine. So let's connect. Let's start connecting everything. First things first. For us to make this active, I'm going to insert, I can insert a shape or a text box. I can insert a text box here. Right, I'm going to insert a text box here. We'll have 3 of them. Text box number 1. Text box number 2. Reduce this. Text box number 3. Okay, we'll mark all 3. We'll format shape. We don't want any line. We don't want any fill. And then what do? We don't want any line or fill. So no fill. No line, no fill. No fill. No line, no fill. All right. So what do I do now? I'll come here I'll right click and I'll say link. What I will link, we want to link to place in documents, and we'll select dashboard. I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to link, place in document, this is going to be analysis. I'll do the same thing here, link. This would be our data sets. And if you want to, you can do the same here and link it to your portfolio. I think I'll do that on my own copy. Okay, now, if you come here, you see that you have your button on here. Okay, if I come here, boom, that's taking us to our analysis. If I come here, boom, that's taking us to the data set. So the dashboard is making sense. So the final thing we'll need to create is our slicers. We're creating our slicers. We need 4 slicers. We'll be needing 4 slicers. Let me confirm the slicers we will be needing. We'll need subcategory, ship mode, delivery status, and yeah. Subcategory, ship mode, delivery status, and yeah. So let's do that. I'll come to the analysis and I'll just come to anyone here. Right click, pivot table analyze. What do we need? We want to insert slicers. So what do we need as the slicers? We need the, if I'm not mistaken, ship mode. If I'm not mistaken, we need subcategories. And what's the third one? Let me confirm real quick. Delivery status, and here, so we'll have our delivery status. These are the 3 we need on here. And what else? I'll also come here. I'll come to this calendar. I will expand and then I'll pick the year. I'll say add as slicer. So we'll have 4. I'm going to cut all 4 of this. I'm going to cut all 4 of this. And then I'm going to paste them here. Paste everything. Enable. I'm going to paste them here. Let me go to, I'll quickly delete all of this. All right, so let's quickly arrange these. We'll have here number 1, number 2, number 3. 1, 2, 3. Can we shrink all of them? Yes, we can. We'll shrink them down to this. Just a little bit. Okay. We'll shrink them a little bit as well to the right. So make sure everything is uniform, and then we can align them. Just put them anywhere. You know the usual. And mark 1, 2, 3. Slicer. We want to align. To, I think, the middle. Oh no. We want to align vertically to the center. I think that's it. And then we can just, let's make sure it's sitting nice. All right. Then for this, I would come to the slicer. I will change the column to 4. I'll change the column to 4. Change the column to 4. And then we're going to have this right here. Looking good. So first things first, let me quickly pick up the, let me grab those colors, the colors I'll be needing for this. Let me grab the colors I'll be needing for this real quick. And let's quickly insert a shape. I just want to use that shape to, so format shape. If I pick this one, so color number 1 is the lighter green, lighter purple, Ctrl+C. This is down my clipboard. I will change it to this, which is the darker, Ctrl+A, Ctrl+C. And then finally, this dot shade right here. I have you. Ctrl+A, Ctrl+C. Okay. So let's come here. But the first thing I want to do is I'll come to slicer, I'll right click, and then I'm going to duplicate. Okay, I'm going to duplicate for the whole slicer. What do we want to use? We don't want any border. We don't want any border. For the fill, we don't want any color. Okay, we don't want any color on there. Click on OK. So for the header, same thing. We don't want any color for the fill. For the border, we don't want anyone. Okay, that as well. So selected items with data. Selected items with data. I think for the fill, I think I used the lighter. No, I think I used the darker. No, I think I used the lighter one. Right? I think I used the lighter one. Not quite sure. Let me quickly confirm. Let me quickly confirm. All right, let me select this one first of all. Okay, it's looking better as is on its own, right? It's looking better, but okay, let's play around with it. Let me still come on here. The slicer, I will edit, modify, selected items with data. Unselected items with data. We don't want any color. We don't want any border as well. And then we want it to be like this. Okay, selected items with data. I can modify, and I can change this thing from black to, I can use white. Okay, we can use white. Let's also edit. We can make it bold. You just try and error to get what you like. We can use bold. All right. So we'll leave this. We'll come to sort of unselected items with data. I think I have worked on that. So when you hover again items with data, what do you want? We want to use, so for the text, we want to still use the white. Want to use the white, but we don't want any border. Or we'll put an outline, and then for the fill, we can use gray if we want, or we can use no, I don't want to use that one. So we're going to use the lightest shape, which is this. Then the one with no data, we can leave that. When you hover unselected items with data, we can use maybe gray. Maybe we can use gray. And then we'll click OK. We'll click OK. So looking at this, you can see it looks something like this. You can see, right? Cool. So let's see if we can apply that same formatting to this. I'll just come here and I'll select this, and perfect. You can see. And just like that, we've created our slicer. But I think I did something different. Let me look at mine. Okay, I think I switched it. So how do we do that? All I need to do is to come here, right? Come here, and I will modify. Rather than modify, I'm going to duplicate. And this time around, for the for the whole slicer, we want to use this darker color, which I think was the second one, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think was the second one for the whole slicer. For the header, just to be sure, we use that same one as well. And then for the selected items with data, instead of this color, I can use white, right? I can use white. And then let me click on OK. And then let me select these three and let's swap them to see if it works. Okay, it's much better. There's still just one more thing we need to work on, and that's the, okay. So I'll still come back here and I will modify. So selected items data, we want to use black. Boom. And just like that, we've created our slicers. You can mark all three. You can adjust them to your taste. Make sure everything is perfect. And we're almost done with this dashboard. The final thing we need to do on here is to connect this slicer to everything and connect the slicers to everything. How do we do that? Very simple. Very simple. You come on here, you go to slicer, you will see report connection, right? See report connection. You expand and you select everything. You select everything. Click OK, you give it a second. And that's it. You do the same for this, you do the same for this, you do the same for this. And by doing that, you now have a very interactive dashboard. Boom. You can see, right? Really nice. This one here is giving us, it's not standing out. So what do? I can come back here and I can select this one in particular. I can come to the rules. So for this, I can change this to something a little bit brighter. Can just pull this, click OK, 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 and OK. And then if I come back to the dashboard, all right, I think it is working perfectly fine right now. Amazing, right? The final thing I need to do here is to click on this, right? Click on this second line. This is our previous year, right? This is our previous year. So all I need to do here is to smoothen the line, first of all. And then we'll use something that isn't that intrusive. We'll use something like this. That might be too light, maybe something like this. And then we'll change this to maybe 1.5, and change the dash type to something like this. Okay? But it doesn't become too intrusive. We can expand this. I don't know. Maybe move it towards here. Works. Not the best. Look for a way to arrange it when you're working on yours. And just like that, you can see that when we select the year, we get our current, we get our previous year, and then when you get to the earliest year, it disappears because there is no year for it to compare it with. And when you get to nothing being selected, you can see everything is being responsive. And just like that, we've created a very simple, clean Excel dashboard reports. What else? I'll just go to my view and I will turn off the formula bar, and just like that, we'll have a full screen rendition of this dashboard reports. And it looks really amazing. So we are at the end point of this tutorial. The final thing I want you guys to do, please recreate this. Use it for your portfolio projects if you want. Use it for your portfolios. Recreate on your social media accounts. Tag me, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok as well. Tag me, and I'll also like and also comment, on it as we all grow together. All of the resources that I used will be in the description. If you check the description, you see GitHub repo there, and you can get access to the sheets, the wireframe, everything you need to make sure you recreate this perfectly fine. And finally, please, please, please do like, comment, and share. It's really going to help the channel, and it's really going to help me, stay motivated to create more value to you guys. And don't forget to comment. It's very, very important to the YouTube algorithm. The final thing I'm going to add here, maybe this, I can turn on the label. I can mark this, and we'll change the fill to something like this. No, Ctrl Z. We'll change the fill to this, but we're going to make the transparency like 50 or 60%. 60%. We'll have this right here, and for the analysis, I can come here. I think this is it, and I'll change this to 0 decimal place. That's all. And just like that, it's perfect. All right, so this is where I called it fits for today. Thank you guys very much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as more will be uploaded as time goes on. So do enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you. Goodbye.